Hello everyone, I'm Marty Pospischil and welcome to the October 2020 Market Update. Got a lot of items to cover today, so I'm going to jump right into it. Let's look at some sales activity, what's actually happening in our market right now. So Market Speedo, quickly look at the activity right now. Our market again in Metro Vancouver over the past month has been anything but typical, basically because of COVID-19. So this is not a typical recessionary period. We're seeing a market sales to listings ratio of 25% in Metro Vancouver, fairly active. If we look overall in Metro Vancouver, we're seeing a total number of listings, 7,400. That is up from last year. Total number of sales in the past month, 1871, again up from last year. And the sale price, 12% year-over-year increase from 2019. Let's look at the highlights for Greater Vancouver in general. Number of sales last month up 56% year-over-year and up 20% from last month. Number of listings are up 32% year-over-year and up 10% from last month. Numbers for Metro Vancouver, they're a little bit less impressive because of the higher price point, but nonetheless very, very active. Overall, the market is still active, although in some product segments we are seeing a slight slowing where we've had our peak sales to listings ratio in July and August, and we've seen the activity drop slightly from them. In general, even though the market is still active with prices increasing into the summer on most product, some prices have stabilized and are already beginning to subside slightly. So the peak of that post-pandemic euphoric bubble may very well have occurred, but again, we're only seeing that in some product. Overall, still a very strong market. Real Estate Forum last week in Vancouver, where we heard from Benjamin Tal, the chief economist from CIBC. He spoke and he put it quite succinctly. He said, it's reasonable to assume that the next 6 months will not be pretty. The honeymoon of the summer is basically over, and now we're entering the winter months, and he thinks over the next few months it will be more difficult. We'll have a situation where we can clearly see that second wave in place, and it's already starting. It will overlap with our flu season, so everybody will be a little bit confused on what's happening, a little bit higher fear factor, and that's all things that have to be taken into account in where our market's going. So here are the things influencing our market right now. The second wave of COVID-19 as it sweeps through Canada and the US. Of course, the US election. Hope you all saw the SNL skit for the election on November 3rd coming up. The provincial election on October 24th. Again, very important events upcoming. Our recovering BC economy, a big factor. The impact of winter on our economy, and the introduction of new and extended federal programs to soften the blow of the second wave and boost our fragile economic progress. So here's the projected recuperation period well into 2023. Here's where we are right now. That trend is projected to slow a little bit. And here is an unaffected GDP growth should the pandemic not have occurred. Unemployment is starting to come down substantially. It looks like in British Columbia we're just hitting that 8% mark, and we're pretty well paralleling the federal unemployment rate. So now let's look at the actual areas, what's hot and what's not. So again, what we do to look at this particular activity hotness of our market is we look at the sales ratio. If we're over 21%, we're in a strong seller's market. If we're between 12 and 20%, we're in a balanced market. It's not favoring the sellers or the buyers. And if we're 11% or less in our sales ratio, it's a buyer's market. Prices are dropping. Okay, and there's upward pressure in a seller's market, of course, where prices are increasing. So let's look at detached houses on the west side, first of all, we're at 18%. Very, very strong for the west side housing market, although balanced, still stronger than what we saw last month. So the detached housing market in the west side is actually increasing. Here are the various neighborhoods throughout the west side, and you can certainly see that predominantly we're in a balanced to seller's market. That's our breakdown for the west side housing market. Let's look at west side condos and townhouses. We are in a seller's market, of course, at 23%. That's up from 16% last month. So condos, townhomes got really, really hot over the last month. You can see the breakdown in the neighborhoods, but overall upward pressure on condos and townhouses in the Vancouver west side. East side, detached houses, 33%. White hot market on the east side for houses. All the neighborhoods predominantly in a strong seller's market on the east side for houses. And that trend has continued substantially upwards from the 24% we saw in September. So again, very strong for the east side detached housing market. For the east side condos and townhomes, again, dramatic increase in activity at 33%. That's up from 28% in the previous month. So again, upward pressure on condos and townhomes in the Vancouver east side, extremely active. Overall, if we look at just Metro Vancouver again, zooming back into Chester City, you can see the trends. This is a buyer's market. The white band is, of course, a balanced market, and the green band is a seller's market. You can see for townhomes, condos, and detached, all of those markets have shot well into a seller's market. And again, just bearing in mind, as I said earlier, there are some product categories and very small micro markets that have hit that peak sales ratio back in July and August and have crested. But in general, in the overall market, we're still seeing increased activity. So what's happening in the burbs? Well, you can see you've got a whole mix on detached housing, pretty well increase in activity throughout the west side, as we noted. New Westminster's down a little bit on houses, along with Delta and Cloverdale. And when we look at attached throughout the suburbs, again, we're seeing overall increase in activity, apart from North Delta and Cloverdale, slowing slightly. What's next? I like to track what's happening in our activity. We track every year what's happening with the number of sales throughout our market. You can see a general trend, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, where you get a very strong spring market, a drop into summer, and then we get another fall market. But here is 2020. You can see it's anything but normal. Here's where the pandemic hit in March. Phase 1 shutdown. Phase 2 opening up, dramatic increase in activity, hit a bit of a plateau, and again a jump last month. Where it's going to go from here, it's looking pretty good right now, but who knows? That's the October 2020 Real Estate Market Update. Thank you for joining me. I'm Marty Pospischil, Pospischil Realty Group. Have a great day.